There are truths we never spoke, secrets we carry like precious stones in the deepest pocket of our souls. And even when we think they died with us, they keep beating, in other hearts, in other lives. Have you ever stopped to notice how certain things we keep in silence seem to find their way to the people we love? I'm not talking about genetics or heredity. I'm talking about something more subtle, more mysterious. I'm talking about those pieces of ourselves that we never had the courage to reveal, but that somehow manifest in the lives of our children, grandchildren, or even strangers who cross our path. Maybe you've noticed in your daughter's eyes that same inexplicable sadness you carried for decades but never mentioned. Or perhaps you've recognized in the way your grandson draws the same shapes you used to doodle in secret as a child, dreaming of an artist's life you never pursued. These aren't coincidences. They're echoes of a deeper truth about how our souls connect across time and silence. For years, we believed that keeping secrets was a form of protection. We protected our children from our pain, our fears, our most intimate frustrations. We thought that by not talking about certain things, they would simply disappear, like smoke in the wind. But they don't disappear, do they? They transform. They find other ways to exist, other mouths to whisper through, other hearts to inhabit. There's an ancient wisdom that says nothing is completely lost in the universe. Not even our deepest secrets. They just change form, migrate from one heart to another, like birds that change nests with the seasons. And perhaps this is one of the most comforting and frightening discoveries of maturity, realizing that what we hid continues to live, beating in places we never imagined. Think about the secrets you've kept throughout your life. Not the small ones, not the white lies or daily omissions. Think about the great silences. That love you never declared. The dream you abandoned without explanation. The hurt you never knew how to express. The pain you swallowed so as not to worry anyone. These secrets have weight, they have presence. They occupy space within us, like permanent guests who were never officially introduced to the family. And the most fascinating thing is discovering that these silent guests didn't stay only with us. They visited other homes, other hearts. Your unspoken pain transformed into someone close to you's heightened sensitivity. Your abandoned dream was reborn in the inexplicable passion your child developed for something you never mentioned having loved. Your undeclared love manifested in the capacity to love intensely that you observe in your family, even without ever having taught this directly. Imagine for a moment that our soul is like an old house, full of rooms. Some are well lit, visited daily, known by all who love us. Others always keep their doors closed, with the key hidden under the memory's doormat. In these locked rooms live our most intimate truths, our most guarded secrets, our purest and most frightening emotions. For decades, we kept these doors closed. We told ourselves it was for everyone's good. That some things were better left unsaid, that some feelings were better not shared. And maybe we were right, at least at that moment. Maybe our families weren't ready to know all our secret rooms. Maybe we ourselves weren't ready. But something mysterious happens with these locked rooms. They don't remain empty forever. They're not forgotten or abandoned. Somehow, the walls become porous. What we keep inside begins to leak out, like perfume from an old clothes drawer. And that perfume, that essence of what we hide, finds its way to other houses, other souls. Your daughter develops an inexplicable intuition for recognizing others' pain, and you wonder where that came from. Your grandson has nightmares about situations he never lived through, but that you lived and never told. Your spouse, after decades together, begins to mention fears that are perfect mirrors of your secret fears. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe it's something deeper, more connected. There's a theory in quantum physics that talks about entanglement. Two particles can be so connected that when one is altered, the other responds instantly, regardless of the distance separating them. I'm not suggesting we're quantum particles, but sometimes I wonder if our hearts don't work in a similar way. If those we love don't carry a part of us that goes far beyond what we choose to show. I remember a woman I met a few years ago. She told me she had hidden her passion for music her entire life. She came from a practical family, where art was seen as a waste of time. So she buried her love for the piano, never played a single note in front of her children. Years later, she discovered that her youngest daughter was secretly composing songs and playing guitar hidden in her room. How did she know I loved music? She asked me, with tears in her eyes. I never said a word about it. Maybe the answer lies in the fact that love is a language that transcends words. Our secret passions, our shelved dreams, our silent pains, all of this creates a vibration around us, an emotional frequency that those who love us can pick up on, even without consciously understanding what they're perceiving. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe it's just about the fact that we can't completely hide who we are. No matter how careful we are, no matter how many doors we lock, there are always cracks. A distant look when a song plays on the radio. A deeper sigh before a sunset. A tear that escapes without explanation. Our loved ones notice these cracks, even if they don't know how to interpret them at the time. And they keep these clues in their own hearts, like seeds that will one day germinate. There are also those secrets we hide not out of shame or fear, but out of protection. The pains we didn't want to transmit, the traumas we hoped would die with us. But even these find their ways. They transform into inexplicable hypervigilance in our children. Into fears they develop without having gone through the experiences that would justify them. Into excessive care they show without knowing why. And then there are the beautiful secrets. The loves we keep just to ourselves, not because they're forbidden, but because they're too sacred to be shared. The love for a person we knew briefly, but who changed something inside us forever. The passion for a place we visited only once, but that lives in our dreams. The secret admiration for someone who represented everything we would like to be. These secrets also beat beyond us. They manifest in our loved ones' capacity to love deeply, to connect with places and people in ways they can't rationally explain. We then arrive at the point where we need to ask a difficult question: if our secrets live beyond us even when we don't share them, wouldn't it be better, wouldn't it be kinder, to find ways to talk about them while we still have time? I'm not suggesting we should reveal everything, or that every secret deserves to be exposed to the harsh light of day. Some secrets are ours to carry, they're part of what makes us unique, private, human. But others might be asking to be shared. Not to cause pain or confusion, but to bring understanding, to create bridges where before there were only mysterious silences. That music you secretly loved? Maybe it's time to play it in the car when you're with your daughter, and see if she recognizes something familiar in those chords. That dream you abandoned? Maybe it's worth mentioning in a casual conversation, see if it awakens some echo in the heart of whoever hears it. That old pain you carried alone? Maybe finding gentle words to describe it could help someone understand their own inexplicable feelings. The fear is understandable. After decades of keeping something, the idea of revealing it can seem scary. What if they don't understand? What if they judge? What if they get hurt? These fears are valid, they're human. But consider also, what if they understand? What if they feel relief at finally understanding where that feeling they always carried without explanation comes from? What if revealing your secret is exactly the key they needed to unlock something in their own lives? It's not about confessing everything at once, like a dam bursting. It's about allowing some rays of light to enter the rooms we've kept closed for so long. To let the dust settle, to let the air circulate a little. To recognize that those we love might be stronger and more understanding than we imagined when we decided to protect them with our silences. And there's an unexpected beauty in this process. When we start opening some of these inner doors, we discover we're not alone in our secret rooms. We discover that others also have their locked rooms, their beating secrets. And sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes, we find people willing to trade keys with us. To show their closed rooms in exchange for seeing ours. This doesn't magically transform all relationships or solve all misunderstandings. Life isn't a movie where an emotional revelation fixes decades of silence. But it creates possibilities. It opens doors to conversations that previously seemed impossible. It allows connections that transcend what we show on the surface. And even when the revelation isn't received as we expected, even when we encounter resistance or misunderstanding, there's still value in the act of opening these doors. Because we finally allow our secrets to breathe a little. To stop being lonely prisoners and become part of the larger narrative of our lives. There have been moments, you've probably had them too, when we look at someone we love and see something of ours reflected in them. A gesture, an expression, a reaction that seems to come from a very deep and familiar place. In these moments, we realize that our secrets have already found their way to them, one way or another. The question is no longer whether we should share, but how and when. There's a silent urgency that grows with age, isn't there? A growing awareness that time isn't infinite, that opportunities for certain conversations are limited. Our voices won't always be the same, our memory won't forever keep every detail with the same clarity. The people who could receive our secrets are also aging, changing, following their own journeys. And then we realize that some of our most precious secrets run the risk of dying with us in a more final way than we imagined. Not because they'll stop beating in other lives, we've already established that this will probably happen anyway. But because we'll lose the opportunity to be a conscious part of this transmission. To witness the moment when someone recognizes a part of themselves in one of our revelations. To experience the unique intimacy that arises when two human beings decide to show each other their most secret rooms. There's a profound difference between discovering something about someone you love after that person is gone, and discovering it while they're still here to talk about it, to explain the nuances, to share not just the secret, but also the feelings that surrounded it for all those years. A difference between inheriting a mystery and receiving a complete story. I think about those final moments we sometimes witness, when someone close to departure suddenly begins talking about things they never mentioned before. They're not always dramatic confessions. Sometimes they're just seemingly casual comments about a place they visited decades ago, or a person they met briefly, or a dream they had when young. But there's an intensity in these moments, a gentle urgency that makes us pay attention in a different way. It's as if, near the end, they felt the need to open some of the doors they kept closed for so long. Not to cause revolution or drama, but to allow a bit of what they kept to reach us more directly, more clearly. To give us some keys to their secret rooms before departing. And we, who remain, usually regret not asking the right questions earlier. Not creating safer spaces for these revelations before the final urgency. Not realizing that some of the silences around us were pregnant with stories waiting to be born. But we still have time. We can still be those who create these spaces, who ask these questions, who open their own doors first to show it's safe to do the same. We can still choose to be vulnerable before life forces us to be. We can decide that some of our secrets deserve the dignity of being shared while we can still shape them with careful words, contextualize them with love, wrap them in the understanding that only we, their guardians for so long, can offer. It's not about revealing everything. It never was. It's about recognizing that some secrets are seeds that need to be planted consciously, not left to germinate by chance. It's about understanding that the legacy we leave isn't made only of the things we said and did openly, but also of the whispers we decided to share at the right moments. And maybe, just maybe, by opening some of these doors, we'll discover that those we love have their own hidden keys. That they too kept secret rooms, waiting for the right moment, the right person, the right courage to open them. That vulnerability is contagious in the same way as love. That when we start showing our deepest truths, we create permission for others to do the same. Imagine how many connections we lost by keeping certain doors closed. How many understandings, how many reliefs, how many silent reconciliations with parts of ourselves that we never allowed to be seen and accepted by those we love most. Imagine how many me too's were never said because we never created space for the initial me. Our secrets beat in other lives, that's true. But when we consciously share them with love and at the right moment, they don't just beat, they sing. They transform from mysterious echoes into recognizable harmonies. From whispers in the wind into real conversations. From invisible bridges into palpable connections that can be crossed in both directions. And then, in the silent nights when the world sleeps and our mind walks through memory's corridors, we can find peace in a simple but profound truth. Nothing of what we were, nothing of what we felt, nothing of what we loved is completely lost. Not even what we chose to hide. Our secrets continue beating, whether in the heartbeats of those who carry pieces of us, or in the words we decided to whisper before it was too late. They beat in the inexplicable tears our daughter sheds when she hears a song that touched us deeply. They beat in the way our grandson draws clouds exactly like we drew them when we were children and no one was watching. They beat in the capacity to love intensely that we observe in our family, even when we never taught this directly. And if we choose to share some of these secrets, they also beat in the conversations that become possible, in the understandings that flourish, in the silent reconciliations that happen when finally someone understands where that feeling they always carried without being able to name it came from. There's an eternity in the things we choose to hide, but there's an even fuller eternity in the things we find courage to reveal. Because when we share our secrets with love, we don't just keep them alive, we transform them. From solitary burdens we carried alone, they become bridges that connect hearts, keys that open doors on both sides. What you've hidden still beats, that's certain. In other lives, in other hearts, in other dreams you influenced without knowing. But maybe it's time to allow some of these secrets to also beat in the light. To give them the chance to be recognized, accepted, loved not just by you, who kept them for so long, but also by those who already carried them without knowing. Because in the end, we discover that our secrets were never just ours. They always also belong to those we love, to those in whom they live and beat. The difference is that now we can choose to be a conscious part of this inheritance. We can decide to be not just the silent guardians of our deepest truths, but also their storytellers. And maybe that's the most comforting discovery of all, that love is stronger than secrecy. That those who truly love us already suspected the existence of our locked rooms. That they're waiting, perhaps for years, for us to find enough courage to show them the keys. Not to judge what they'll find inside, but to finally understand where all that music they always heard playing softly in our souls comes from. What you've hidden still beats in another life. But maybe it's time to let it also beat in your own life, openly, accepted, finally at home. If these words touch something in you, if you recognized your own secret rooms and your own hidden keys, know that you're not alone. We all carry secrets that beat beyond us. The question that remains is, which of these guarded truths deserve the gentle light of a careful conversation? Which keys are you ready to share?